Good afternoon, friends. It is Tuesday, election day. Did you get out and vote? I actually voted last week for early voting, so I don't have to stand in lines. I've heard some polling places got really long lines, hour or 2 hours. That's why I early vote, so I don't have to do that. Anyway, this past Saturday, interesting things happened. Upsets happened. Overall, I thought it was a good Saturday. Not as good as we've had the last month, but still some good games, some good things. We'll go over all that. Before we start, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. With it, let's get to some news. Got quite a few news items. Louisiana Monroe, they're on a roll this year. They're having a great season. Well, their O-line coach, Cameron Blankenship, he will face disciplinary action after pushing offensive lineman Drew Hutchinson on the sidelines all over some kind of substitution mistake. I was reading something about Drew Hutchinson thought he was supposed to go in. All of a sudden, Blankenship said, no, get back here. When he was all mad and everything. And when he got back on the line, he evidently shoved him. I don't know. Miscommunication. You go shoving the guy, and now you're going to get disciplinary action. Way to go. Okay. Hey, first CFP rankings. First year, the 12-team playoff will be out tonight. Usually, they do that during a basketball game, during the halftime. So I'm not sure which basketball game. I haven't looked on the TV schedule or anything, but usually during a pretty big basketball game during the halftime, they do that. New AP poll came out. Oregon's still number 1. Ohio State, they're 3. Miami 4. This is not everybody. This is the ones that fell and moved up. Penn State fell to 6. Indiana's at 8 now. SMU 13. A&M dropped to 15. Iowa State dropped to 17. Army's at 18. Clemson drops to 19. K-State drops to 22. Pitt drops to 23. Oregon, they say wide receiver Trez Johnson should return this year sometime. They're not really sure. He had a shoulder injury, but it's not as severe as they thought it was. Happened during the Michigan game. Bama wide receiver and return man Cole Adams, lower body injury. He is out for the season, unfortunately. One that kicks me right in the family jewels. Texas A&M running back Le'Veon Moss out for the season. Hurt his leg early in the South Carolina game. Florida says quarterback DJ Lagway may play versus Texas. They're going to watch him this week during practice to see how his injury is. Left hamstring is what that injury was. Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola, he's expected to play against USC. He's got a back injury. They're expecting him to play, so I don't know really how bad that injury is. Oklahoma State, they've lost 6 games in a row. Coach Mike Gundy says you need to trust our process. Trust our process. We've lost 6 in a row, but trust our process, man. Come on. Telling the fans that. Oklahoma State, it seems like every year they have a skid. Either in the beginning of the year or the end of the year, but this one's been in the middle of the year this year. So we'll see what happens there. I like him. He's a good coach. And the way he chews up the media sometimes in his press conferences, I love it. But I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen in that up there in Stillwater. Really, really don't. And South Carolina beat A&M. Fans stormed the field. SEC fined them $250,000. Basketball started last night. Some upsets in the top 25 already. Number 6 Gonzaga beat number 8 Baylor 101-63. Hickman had 17 points. Ike 15 points for Gonzaga. Not a good week for Texas A&M. Got beat by South Carolina Saturday night. Last night, both the men's and women's basketball teams lost. Men's lost to Central Florida. A&M was 13. Lost 64-61. Johnson for Central Florida, 24 points. Nice game for him. And Ohio State, they beat number 19 Texas, 80-72. Thornton for Ohio State, 20 points in that game. All right, so let's go back to Friday. UConn, they are 6-3 now, bowl eligible. Great for them. They've had the last few seasons have not been good for them. Beat Georgia State 34-27. Boise State, they're 7-1 now. Beat San Diego State 56-24. The combination of Boise State quarterback Maddox Madison and Ashton Gentry does it again. Madison, 307 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Gentry, 149 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. And McCoy had a 35-yard pick six for him. Saturday, Oklahoma beat Maine, but it wasn't easy. Maine came out fighting, man. They were leading early in that game, 7-0 in the first. OU ends up winning 59-14. By halftime, it was 35-7 Sooners. Javante Barnes, 203 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Nice game for him. 665 total yards for Oklahoma in that game. But Maine, some good news. You led early, and you only had 1 penalty. So, good news for them. Buffalo moved to 5-4. They beat Akron 41-30. Army 8-0 now. Beat Air Force 20-3. I really thought this was going to be a good game because those service academies want to beat each other so bad. They play their A game. Man, it just didn't happen for Air Force this year. Just didn't happen. I just think Air Force just isn't good this year. I mean, I really, really don't. Army running back Kenya Uda, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. Air Force, 3 turnovers. Army defense had 6 sacks. Both teams under 93 yards passing. Imagine that, huh? That's crazy. Toledo, they're 6-3. They beat Eastern Michigan 29-28. Toledo quarterback Tucker Gleason, 251 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, ran for a touchdown. Defensive back Avery Smith, 4 tackles, and broke up the 2-point conversion on the final play that sealed the win for Toledo. Kind of a scary moment, man. Linebacker Jamire Peters, he collapsed on the sideline, had to be taken to the hospital in an ambulance. As of this writing, which was Sunday night, Monday morning, he was stable and alert, but they shut that game down for about 15 minutes. I flipped over to see the score. I see an ambulance out there, and the game stopped. I was like, oh, man. But evidently he's going to be okay, so kind of scary. Miami, they're 9-0, beat Duke 35-31. Duke gave them a hell of a game, though, at first. They were leading 28-17 into the third quarter. Then Miami turned it on. Cam Ward, 3 touchdown passes in the second half, 5 total for the day, 400 yards. Duke's Malik Murphy, 325 yards, 3 touchdowns, did throw 3 interceptions in that game. Miami outscored Duke 36-10 in the second half of that game. The 4 turnovers from Duke didn't help their cause. North Carolina State Wolfpack are 5-4. They beat Stanford 59-28. 6 straight losses for Stanford. Syracuse, they're 6-2. Remember, they usually have a meltdown in the middle of the season somewhere. They seem to avoid that. I mean, they've lost 2 games, but still, they're going strong. Beat Virginia Tech 38-31 in overtime. Kyle McCord, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. Those were to Justin Ross Summons. LeQuint Allen, 137 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, including the game winner in overtime. Ole Miss just annihilated Arkansas. I really expect this to be a better game. It just wasn't. Jackson Dart sets a record for a single game, 515 passing yards, 6 touchdowns. Jordan Watkins, 254 receiving yards, 5 touchdown catches. Hell of a game for him. Rebels defense, 8 sacks. Linebacker Chris Paul Jr. had 6 tackles on his own. Both teams close to 100 yards in penalties in this one. Razorbacks, man, they were just flat outplayed, outcoached. And I believe Ole Miss has Georgia this week. That should be a pretty good one. 3-5. Well, on Saturday, they were 3-5. UTSA beat 7-1 Memphis, 44-36. We talked about their quarterback, Owen McCown. Is he the only good player on this team because of his numbers? He did it again. 280 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Memphis to Seth Hennigan, 454 yards, 4 touchdown passes. 2 of them to Demir Blankenshee. Can't read my writing. UTSA, better on 3rd and 4th down, better in the red zone. They also have less penalties and turnovers than Memphis. Ohio State beat Penn State 20-13. This game started out really good. I was like, all right, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game. Both teams played good in the first half. Second half came around, not so much. Things kind of slowed down. Only field goals in the second half. Will Howard for the Buckeyes, 182 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, which turned into a 31-yard pick six by Tracy for Penn State. Drew Aller, 146 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, no rushing touchdowns. Only scoring for Penn State was the pick six and Baker's 2 field goals in that one. Penn State had the ball inside the 5 twice. Buckeyes defense shut them down, 1 for 3 in the red zone. And people are saying, hey, James Franklin can't win the big games. This got me thinking, do Penn State fans really care if they make it to the playoff? Because they got to be thinking, we're just going to lose to a big team anyway. I don't know. No, maybe, who knows? Maybe someone thinking, we just had a bad game. We're a good team. I don't know. Illinois, man. Minnesota beats Illinois 25-17. I think it's the first loss by Brett Bielema to a Minnesota team. Both are 6-3 now. It was 17-16 in the fourth quarter when Minnesota quarterback Max Brosmer threw a touchdown pass to Jameson Greer. And Dragan Kesh kicked a field goal in the final 5 minutes to win that game. Illinois turned the ball over twice and were 1 for 2 in the red zone. Since losing to Penn State in late September, Illinois is 2-2 in the last 4 games. Vandy 6-3 now. Vanderbilt beat Auburn 17-7. Diego Pavia 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a 4-yard touchdown pass to Eli Stowers with 4:18 left to seal the deal. Vanderbilt bowl eligible, but you know they want more. They have a hell of a team. Beat Bama, almost beat Texas. You know they're hungry and they want more than just bowl eligible for the first time since 2018, so good for them. Both teams, Vanderbilt and Auburn, under 15 first downs, under 90 rushing yards. Vanderbilt was 2 for 2 in the red zone. Auburn was 0 for 0. Auburn, their woes continue. UAB quarterback Jalen Kitna, 404 passing yards, 6 touchdowns in their 59-21 win over Tulsa. 3 of those were to Cam Shanks, who had 153 receiving yards. North Carolina, they're kind of turning things around a little bit. They're 5-4, beat Florida State 35-11. Running back Omarion Hampton, 172 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, and he caught a touchdown pass. Hell of a game for him. Florida, man, played Georgia tough in this game. First half, it was 13-6 at halftime. Then kind of fell apart in the second half, being outscored 28-7 by the Bulldogs. Georgia wins 34-20. Carson Beck, kind of a repeat performance in the Texas game. 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, though. He's got to clean that up. Georgia defense, just like in the Texas game, does it again here. Held Florida to 13 first downs, 3 for 16 on third down, 256 total yards, 2 for 2 in the red zone, and forced 2 Gator turnovers. Marshall beats UL Monroe. We just talked about UL Monroe. Must have been a frustrating day because the offensive line coach shoved one of his players. Decent discipline coming. Beat them 28-23. Both are 5-3. Marshall's Ethan Payne, 2 rushing touchdowns. Here in the greater Houston area, Saturday, it was a monsoon. Skies opened up at noon. Delayed both the U of H and the Rice game. And 3-5 Houston back then on Saturday beat 7-1 Kansas State 24-19 in the monsoon that was coming down. Houston started off crappy this year. They really did. But they've really been coming on as of late. Don't know if they can get to a bowl game. Being in the Big 12 is a lot harder than being in their old conference. But they could because, like I said, they've really come on. Kansas State had U of H down at halftime 16-10. U of H outscored them 14-3 in the second half. Zion Chris threw a touchdown pass and ran for a touchdown pass in the fourth quarter. Kansas State, actually better numbers in most categories than the Cougars were. They did have one more turnover than U of H did, but hands to Houston, man. Got themselves an upset in the driving rain. Texas Tech hands Iowa State their first loss of the season, 23-22. Red Raider quarterback Baron Morton, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns to Josh Kelly, who had 127 receiving yards. Taj Brooks, 122 rushing yards, and had the game-winning touchdown with 19 seconds left. Roka Beck for Iowa State, he had a good game, 332 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Texas Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez, 9 tackles in this game. Each team 2 turnovers. Texas Tech did have 25 more yards of penalties than Iowa State. Texas Tech is 6-3 now. They've kind of come on. Arizona State, they are 6-2. Beat Oklahoma State. But, like Gundy says, you got to trust their process. Beat them 46-21. Cam Skidaboo, this guy, man, ran for 153 and a touchdown and caught 4 passes for 121 yards and 2 touchdown catches. This guy's incredible. Oklahoma State, only 16 first downs, 3 for 11 on third down, but trust the process. Oregon, they're 9-0, beat Michigan 38-17. Yeah. Dylan Gabriel for the Ducks, 294 passing yards, touchdown, also ran for a touchdown. Running back Jordan James, 117 rushing yards and a touchdown. Whittington had 2 rushing touchdowns. Michigan's Davis Warren had a good game, 165 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Oregon defense held Michigan to 11 first downs, 4 for 12 on third down, 270 total yards, 3 for 4 in the red zone, which ain't bad, really, but the Ducks were 5 for 5 in the red zone. Indiana keeps on going. Had a little trouble in Michigan State, though. They're 9-0 now, but they trailed Michigan State 10-0 in the first quarter. And when you saw that score, you were thinking, man, remember what Michigan State did to Iowa? What they're going to do to Indiana? Nope. Final score 47-10 Indiana. Quarterback Curtis Rourke, 263 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 of them to Elijah Sarrett. IU defense, 7 sacks, forced 2 turnovers, held Spartans to 15 first downs and just 12 rushing yards. That is crazy. A Michigan State team only getting 12 rushing yards in a game. Nebraska lost to UCLA 27-20. Ethan Garbers for the Bruins, 219 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Kane Madrano, 38-yard pick 6 for UCLA. UCLA's defense, 4 sacks. Linebacker Carson Schwarzenegger, 9 tackles and forced 2 turnovers. Talked about U of H playing in the driving rain. Rice-Navy game was delayed 5 hours. Supposed to start at 3:15, didn't start till 8:15 because of the weather. Anyway, they make a coaching change last week, and it looked like a totally different Rice team. Beat Navy, hands on their second loss, 24-10. Running back Dean Connors for Rice, 105 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. 1-7 Troy, well, they were 1-7 back then. Beat 4-3, 1-7 Troy, beat 4-3 Coastal Carolina, 38-24. Troy quarterback Matthew Caldwell, 169 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, also ran for a touchdown. Hawaii, 3-5, beat 5-3 Fresno State. Good win for them, 21-20. Brandon Schrager for the Warriors threw 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes to Nick Sinaid, one of them with 15 seconds left in that game. Their defense had 4 sacks, held Fresno State to 14 first downs, 171 total yards, which you wouldn't think would happen. You'd think if Fresno State would just annihilate Hawaii. No. Louisville upset Clemson 33-21. Their kicker, Brock Tralstead, 15 points in this game. He was like kicking you-know-what. Linebacker Stonovan Clark, 7 tackles. Clemson had more first downs. They were way better on third and fourth down. Better in the rushing game, better in the passing game, less penalties, still lost this game. One of it is because of kicker Brock Traustead and his 15 points. I mean, they only lost 33-21, so. We talked about Le'Veon Moss out for the season. Lost him in that A&M loss to South Carolina, 44-20. Gamecocks came out in this game on fire, and you knew they would. Williams-Brice is a tough place to play with the sandstorm? Sandstorm going on and all that. 14-0 in the first quarter. Aggies, though, settled in, came back, played a great game, tied it up at 20 at halftime. You're like, all right, here we go. This is going to be good. No, they just had no answer for South Carolina in the second half. Amazing quarterback play by North Sellers. A&M just could not tackle the guy. I swear, every time he took off running, he'd break 3, 4, 5 tackles. I'm like, where the hell did you guys learn to tackle? My God. 244 passing yards for him, 2 touchdowns, ran for 106 in a touchdown, hence the bad tackling. Running back Raheem Sanders, 144 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Tight end Joshua Simon, 132 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Aggies Marcel Reed, he had an okay game, 206 yards, touchdown and an interception. Aggies were penalty happy Saturday night, 7 for 68. I knew this was going to be a trap game. I knew it. I told all my fellow Aggie fans and friends, this is going to be a major trap game. Watch. Sure enough, A&M went in there, got their foot stuck in it. Georgia Southern 6-3 now. They beat South Alabama 34-30. Georgia Southern was down 30-14 at the end of the third. Okay, they scored 20 in the fourth quarter to win. J.C. French, the quarterback, 198 passing yards, 2 touchdowns to Josh Dallas. Southern Alabama, 13 penalties for 99 yards. Iowa moved to 6-3, beat Wisconsin 42-10. Their running back, Caleb Johnson, 135 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Nice game for him. Iowa's defense, their linebacker, Jay Higgins, 7 tackles. Their defense held Wisconsin to 16 first downs, 2 for 11 on third down. Washington, they go 5-4, beat their old Pac-12 nemesis USC, 26-21. Gave the Trojans their 5th loss. Washington running back Jonah Coleman, 104 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Miller Moss for USC, 293 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Nice game, but he did throw 3 interceptions. Running back Woody Marks, 123 rushing yards and a touchdown. Washington defense, linebacker Carlson Bruner, 7 tackles, 2 interceptions. Hell of a game for him. USC, after it was all said and done, was better in all the numbers except turnovers and red zone. They were only 2 for 4 in the red zone. Washington was 4 for 4. Tennessee, boy, they got a hell of a scare from Kentucky, but they won in the end by 10, 28-18. They were down 10-7 at half. Kentucky played them really, really tough in this one. Outscored Kentucky, though, in the second half, 21-8. Dylan Sampson, 141 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Kentucky was 1 for 2 in the red zone and committed 3 turnovers. Baylor, they've been coming on lately. They started off crappy like so many other teams, but like so many other teams, they're starting to come on. Beat TCU 37-3. Both are 5-4 now. Baylor running back Bryson Washington, career high, 196 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. Nice game for him. TCU quarterback Josh Hoover, 333 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Both of those were to Jack Beach. SMU, boy, they just keep on rolling, don't they? Even with Holstein playing for Pitt, they just keep rolling. Gave Pitt their first loss, winning 48-25. Mustangs quarterback Kevin Jennings, 306 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Running back Rashard Smith, 161 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a touchdown catch. Eli Holston did play. Not sure if he was 100% because he was hurt, but still. Threw for 248 yards. Not too bad, but no touchdowns. That's crazy. SMU defense, 3 sacks, 2 turnovers in this game. Colorado State are 6-3. They beat Nevada 38-21. Their running back Avery Morrow, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Ayers, their kicker, 9 points, including a 60-yard field goal he hit for them. Nice kick for him. All right, moving on to FCS. Some of the big ones. Robert Morse, they're 6-3, beat Merrimack 6-0. Duquesne is 6-2. They beat Mercyhurst 31-24. Butler 7-2. They beat Stetson 46-13. Butler's quarterback Nick Howard threw a touchdown pass and ran for 3 touchdowns in that game. Morehead State 6-3 beat St. Thomas, Minnesota 21-7. That snaps St. Thomas, Minnesota's 4-game win streak. Stony Brook is 7-2. They beat Bryant 31-30 in overtime. Stony Brook's Roland Dempster, 103 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. One of those was in overtime to win. Rhode Island 8-1 beat Monmouth 37-28. Rhode Island's quarterback Devin Farrell, 265 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Marquise Buchanan ran for 171 and 2 touchdowns. Villanova 7-2. They beat Hampton 20-14. William & Mary is 6-3. Beat North Carolina A&T 45-7. William & Mary's Malachi Imai, touchdown catch and 2 rushing touchdowns. Harvard beat Dartmouth 31-27. Both of them are 6-1. Harvard's Charles DePrima rushed for 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to seal up that one. Harvard is on a 5-game win streak. Drake is 6-1. They beat Marist 19-0. Drake, 16-game win streak in their conference. Richmond is 7-2. They beat Towson 35-24. Richmond is a tie for the first place in the CAA conference. Mercer, they're 8-1. They beat Eastern Tennessee State 37-31. Marquise Thomas for Mercer, 25-yard pick six. Mick Wasson return a block punt for 20 yards for a touchdown. Jackson State 7-2. They beat Arkansas Pine Bluff 41-3. Jacobian Morgan, 3 touchdown passes, and he also ran for a touchdown for Jackson State. Missouri State, they're 7-2, beat Southern Illinois 38-17. Jaden Becks, 101 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Let's see here. Incarnate Word is 7-2, beat Houston Christian 45-20. And of course, we knew Incarnate Word's quarterback Zach Calzada would have another incredible day. 4 touchdown passes, and he ran for a 5th touchdown. Illinois State 6-3. They beat Youngstown State 23-16. Illinois State's Tommy Rittenhouse, 2 touchdown passes, and he also ran for a touchdown. South Dakota State, they are 7-2, beat Murray State 52-6. Jackrabbits led 38-6 at halftime. North Dakota State is 9-1. They beat Northern Iowa 42-19. Cam Miller for North Dakota State, 2 touchdown passes. UC Davis 8-1. They beat Northern Colorado 59-7. UC Davis's quarterback Miles Hastings, 3 touchdown passes. Lane Larson, 143 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 8 straight wins for UC Davis. 0-9 Utah Tech, which they are now 1-9 Utah Tech, beat 6-2 Central Arkansas 34-21. Reggie Graff for Utah Tech threw 2 touchdown passes, ran for a touchdown, and he caught a touchdown pass. Hell of a quarterback there. Montana State's 9-0. They beat Eastern Washington 42-28. Abilene Christian 6-3 beat Southern Utah 28-25. Magic McClure for Abilene Christian, 306 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Isaiah Johnson, 2 rushing touchdowns. Stephen F. Austin, they are 6-3, beat Nicholls State 28-12. Sam Vidlock for Stephen F. Austin, 262 passing yards, 4 touchdown passes. Stephen F. Austin scored 3 touchdowns in 3 minutes in the second quarter. That's just crazy. Montana, they are 7-2, beat Cal Poly 42-7. Junior Bergen for the Grizzlies, 84-yard punt return for a touchdown. UT Martin beat Tennessee State 28-21. Both of them are 6-3 now. Kincaid Dent for Tennessee Martin threw 3 touchdown passes in a 7-minute span in the first quarter. He set the tone right away. Oh, he also ran for a touchdown in the second quarter, so he wasn't done yet. And 4-4 Eastern Kentucky beat 7-1 Tarleton State 17-13. Eastern Kentucky, Joshua Carter, 23-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter for the win. All right, so we got some games midweek coming up. Tonight, 6:30 ESPN2, 4-4 Bowling Green versus 3-5 Central Michigan. 7 p.m. on the ESPN2, 4-4 Miami of Ohio versus 3-5 Ball State. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. ESPNU, 5-3 Ohio versus 0-8 Kent State. 6 p.m. on the ESPN2, 4-4 Northern Illinois versus 5-3 Western Michigan. 7 p.m. on the ESPN. Thursday, 4-4 App State versus 4-4 Coastal Carolina. 7 p.m. on ESPN2, 2-6 FAU versus 4-4 East Carolina. Looking at all these games, I'm kind of glad basketball season has started. There could be some good matchups. I haven't checked the basketball schedule. But keep in mind, one of those games tonight during halftime, well, I'm assuming it's during halftime because that's how they've done the final four, the 4-team playoff every year, first announcement. But being this 12 team, they may have their own show. So check the TV schedule and see. Anyway, if you haven't get out and voted, go out and vote. Your vote matters. We will be back Tuesday or Thursday or Friday to preview what's coming up in, what is this, week 11 coming up, I believe it is. Yeah, week 11. Preview those games. Meanwhile, hey, work fast, work hard, stay busy. Weekend will be here again before you know it, and y'all be safe.